The chamber reeked of confidence, thick, suffocating, and centuries old. High Admiral Vokreth leaned back into his obsidian-plated throne, his 6 eyes lazily scanning the glowing war maps that hovered mid-air. "Earth?" he scoffed. "Still, fumbling with atmospheric shielding, aren't they?" Laughter, dry, unanimous, smug, rippled across the council floor. Commander Scylla of the Varnathi strike ring chimed in, her voice like grinding steel. "Primitive apes with sentimental speeches and no quantum fleets. Let them play diplomat while we expand." Another round of agreement, sharper this time. Their condescension wasn't just habitual, it was doctrine. But then, the lights dimmed. It wasn't a malfunction, it was too selective, just the central screen. The one tracking the border of Sector Null, an empty, unremarkable void. Admiral Vokreth squinted. "Is that static?" The screen buzzed once, then cut to black. Everyone froze. Scylla's claws twitched. "Report. Why's the feed dead?" Technician scrambled at his console. I'm trying, Admiral. No input, no error codes either." Vokreth stood slowly. "Patch into the neighboring sectors. Now." Static. Silence. Then, just once, the console beeped. No video, just a transmission. 2 words. "Permission granted." They didn't recognize the voice. Human, male, calm. The chamber dropped 20 degrees in one breath. What did he mean? Granted. Granted what? Scylla asked. The technician's fingers trembled. "I don't know. There's no signal source. It just appeared. AVD spike." The chamber's perimeter alert flashed crimson. 3 warships. No, 4. No, wait. 12, 16, 52. Vessels blinked into existence on the outer edges of Sector Null. None matched any galactic registry. None responded to hails. All bore one signature in common, an ancient Terran emblem, no longer in use. A crescent-shaped star overlaid by a single black diagonal slash. Vokreth's voice dropped to a whisper. "What is that symbol?" An old diplomat in the back, retired, forgotten, stepped forward, pale. "That's the mark used by Earth's Black Ops division during their internal wars. Centuries ago. They resurrected a ghost," Scylla muttered. "No," the diplomat said almost reverently. "They unleashed one." Every member of the council turned to face the screen again, just as a single warship emerged ahead of the others. Vast, angular, unholy in its symmetry. It didn't accelerate. It drifted forward, effortlessly, like it owned the void. It had no name. Just that same symbol, glowing like a scar across its hull. Psychological cliffhanger. And still, it hadn't fired. Vokreth's voice was no longer amused. "Send word to the Emperor. Earth." Earth just made their move. The warship rotated slightly, just enough for its forward cannons to align with the nearest Imperial colony. And then, without sound, light, or even ceremony, it blinked out. A view. Disappeared, just gone. The council chamber stared at the screen, breathless. Then the colony feed died too. No explosion, no debris, no distress call, just gone. 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 They thought it was mercy, the diplomat whispered. Vokreth didn't look away from the dead screen. It wasn't. Second moon of Thralian 5. Intelligence Archive Vault 17. Analyst. Tilvern's hands trembled as he scrolled through the decrypted logs. Lines of untranslated Terran code danced across his hologlass interface. They shouldn't have had access to this. No one in the Empire should. But after the ghost ship appeared, Command had given one desperate order. Find everything Earth has ever buried. Most logs were junk, outdated tech, obsolete comms, until one file opened. Project. Silent vow, he blinked. "Why's the file name in Galactic Basic?" he whispered. No one answered. AVD spike. A chill surged through Tilvern's spine as the video booted. A Terran general stood in an old bunker. He didn't speak, just stared at the camera for 6 full seconds. Then a whisper, barely audible. "They won't hear us coming. That's the point." The screen cut to static. File locked. Tilvern stepped back. That wasn't a threat. That was a funeral vow. He looked over his shoulder. The vault was empty, but he felt watched. Cut to Imperial Command Chamber Central. Core sector, chaos, no hails, no threat, no weapons shown. And yet an entire colony vanished, barked Fleet Marshal Jorek. He slammed his fist against the war table. This is psychological warfare, human warfare, and we're unprepared. A young lieutenant stepped forward. "Permission to ask, sir." Jorek's eyes snapped toward him. "Speak." The lieutenant hesitated. Are we at war with Earth?" "No," Jorek growled. "That would mean they acknowledged us first." Everyone went silent. Then the map updated again. Another red dot blinked out. One more colony. Gone. No heat sigs. No signs of evacuation. Just absence. POV flip. Far above, in low orbital shadow, the human warship drifted again. Still nameless. Still silent. On its bridge, a single AI stood at the helm. It had no visible face, only a deep, reflective obsidian core. A child's voice echoed softly from within it. "Do they understand what silence means yet?" Another voice, adult, measured, responded. "They will. When the stars grow quiet." Back in the Empire's core systems, panic had reached the trade guilds. 1,000 petitions flooded the capital. Refugees fled sectors not even threatened. The stockpile of Nova bombs, once a symbol of dominance, was ordered to be relocated. Hidden, even emperors feel fear. One counselor dared to say it aloud. "Send a message to Earth. Parley. Offer peace." Fleet Marshal Jorek glared. "You don't offer peace to ghosts. You light a candle and hope they pass by your door." Emotional turn. Tilvern sat alone now, replaying the 6-second video again and again. "They won't hear us coming." What terrified him wasn't the line, it was the look in that general's eyes, not rage, not pride, grief. "Someone made a promise," Tilvern whispered, "and now they're keeping it." The Imperial throne room was not meant for voices. It was a place of stillness, of grandeur, of fear. Even the air bowed beneath its golden arches. Yet today the silence cracked. Emperor Zaltun rose from his levitating seat, something no one had witnessed in over a century. His voice, when it came, was not commanding, not angry, just heavy. "Do you know," he began, "how Earth earned its first war?" None answered. He did not wait. They were primitive, divided, poor, and yet, when one of their colonies was destroyed by a neighboring power, they didn't negotiate. They didn't retaliate with matching force. He stepped slowly across the obsidian dais. They waited. AVD spike. The court leaned forward as if hypnotized. The Emperor continued. They watched every fleet, measured every engine, counted every ration of fuel. Then they crippled every port, every sensor relay, every comms buoy, until the galaxy turned, confused, and Earth was already standing behind them. He stopped before the central war map. "And then, my lords, they vanished from history for 200 years. A general tried to interrupt. "With respect, Majesty, that's myth. Earth." Silence. The single word cut like plasma. "I saw it," the Emperor said, "as a boy on a diplomatic vessel. Their dreadnought passed behind our ship at the edge of a red dwarf system." He raised one trembling hand. No sound, no message, just shadow. Psychological hook. He turned, eyes glimmering with something even he couldn't name. They don't broadcast threats. They become them. Counselor Lurith finally spoke, voice cautious. "Then, what do we do, Majesty?" A beat. Then a reply that turned stomachs. "We stop pretending we're the top of the food chain." Scene cut. Far above the Empires. Outer sector. In the orbital debris of the lost colonies, the human warship floated again. This time it released something. Not a weapon, not a probe, a satellite. The Empire intercepted its signal immediately. One file. Open access, broadcast to every known comms frequency. It was a voice memo. Female. Calm. Human. We don't need your surrender. We don't need your alliance. We just need the screaming to stop. Then nothing. No code, no encryption, no demands. Just silence. And silence now was the most terrifying sound of all. Signature line. In the throne room, the Emperor whispered what the whole council feared to think. They're not starting a war, he said. They're finishing one. Scout vessel Virexis Dawn. Deep orbit Sector Null Commander Ilrixa had seen black holes blink in front of her. She'd raced solar flares, survived ice storms on uncharted exoplanets. She had earned her scars. And yet now, her four hearts pounded, because, outside the viewport less than 800 kilometers away floated it, the human warship. No name, no call sign, no crew readings, just mass, immeasurable, cold deliberate. She activated the long-range scanners again. No energy spike, no power build, no movement, the ops officer reported. Is it dead? Someone whispered. Ilrixa frowned. No, it's worse. It's patient. AVD spike. The vessel's hull shimmered subtly, like it knew they were watching. She leaned closer. Magnify armor plating. The screen zoomed in, engraved along the side, hidden between scorched layers of metallic black, was something horrifying. Not Terran writing. Galactic standard, 10 words. We remember every name you tried to erase. The crew froze. One of them, a junior tech, backed away from the screen. Why would humans write that? In our tongue? Ilrixa's jaw tightened. Because it was meant for us. She tapped the comms console. Send everything to Central Command. Every byte. Now. Back in the Empire's War Intelligence Corps, the feed came through live. Fleet Marshal Jorek watched in silence. The Emperor did not speak. No one did. Not until a secondary feed, one unrelated to the Virexis mission, flashed red. New anomaly detected, a technician called out. Not near the human warship, this one's deep inside Sector 4. Another ship? Jorek asked. The tech hesitated. No, sir, it's underground. What? Planet Drelzan? Decommissioned Imperial Lab world. We're detecting a buried signal activating from within the crust. Tactical turn. The screen lit up with old files. Archived. Forgotten. Project. Godspine, a dead AI system. Abandoned centuries ago. Now suddenly, awake. And pinging one location. The human warship. Back aboard the Virexis Dawn, alarm screamed. Ilrixa turned sharply. What is it? Gravimetric distortion forming off the starboard bow. The warship hadn't moved, but space around it had. It began folding. Not warping. Not jumping. Folding. One layer of stars folding under another, like paper. And then, a second Terran ship emerged, twice the size. Same silence, same symbol, same posture of death. Voice. Crack. A junior officer whispered, "How many of these things do they have?" Ilrixa didn't answer. She couldn't, because she just realized the horrifying truth. The first ship wasn't the attack, it was the signal. Signature line. And the second one? The second was the response. There was no warning. 1 second, the stars held their natural order. The next, they bent, not exploded, not warped. Bent, as if the universe itself flinched. In the Grand Imperial Observatory, scientists and strategists alike screamed over each other. Mass displacement at stellar level. That's not a jump drive. That's dimensional displacement. Shut up, all of you, barked Director Verne. Focus on what just arrived. The second ship was beyond classification. It dwarfed the first. Its shape was impossible. Part cathedral, part dreadnought, part scar. No engines visible, no windows, no rotation, just presence. And engraved down its central hull, over miles of dark alloy, was a single phrase. Silence is our permission slip. AVD Spike. Director Verne stared at it in a cold sweat. They never asked. No one moved, because deep down, everyone realized something. This wasn't war. It was ritual. Meanwhile, deep beneath the surface of Ikara Prime, the Empire's oldest archive hummed to life for the first time in 600 years. The archivist, an elderly being with fading sight and a prosthetic spine, limped toward a glowing interface. "Why now?" he muttered. He hadn't seen real sunlight in decades. He didn't care. But this alert, this one had a name. He squinted at the screen. It read, Black Archive File, number 17, Earth, Protocol Voidwalker. His hand hovered over the activation rune. It trembled. He touched it anyway. The file unspooled. Not a log, not a command, a warning, a voice, young, broken, human. If this is being heard, it means we failed to warn you. And now, they've remembered. The archivist sat down, heart racing. Remembered what? The voice continued. The Silence Fleet is not a weapon. It's a promise. Each ship holds a memory. Each memory is a grievance, and once they move, they don't stop. Not until the map is clean. POV shift. In low orbit aboard the second human vessel, the AI stirred. It had no name. It didn't need one. Instead, it read from a poem stored in its neural lattice. A Terran verse from a forgotten age. The stars were not meant to be ruled. Only respected and feared. The AI closed the log. No response from the Empire, it noted. Continue with directive? Asked a second, quieter voice. The AI paused. Then, begin phase 2. Let them know. This was never about war. It was about memory. Back at the observatory, alarms triggered again. A third-fold ripple appeared. No ship yet. Just pressure. Space itself bracing. Signature line. And across 100 Imperial channels, the same message flickered to life. We asked for peace. You gave us names to bury, now we dig them up. The first name came at 0400 Imperial time. No preamble, no encryption. Just a voice. Human, calm, female, Orlan Vex. Age 6, civilian transport, lost in orbital blockade, cycle 322. Then silence. 18 seconds later, Darius Shaw, engineer, executed without trial, cycle 331. Again, silence, not static, not jamming. Just the absence of noise so deep it made the Empire's comms officers feel like they were underwater. AVD Spike. By the 10th name, half the outer colonies had shut down all incoming signals. By the 50th, even the Emperor's personal comms array was silent. But the names kept coming. Low orbit. Ground channels. Even deep-frequency satellite bands, unstoppable. Like a funeral dirge written in binary. In the Imperial Citadel, Counselor Scylla clenched her fangs. This is psychological warfare. Fleet Marshal Jorik didn't look up. No, it's accounting. What? They're balancing the books. Elsewhere, back in Archive Vault 17, analyst Tilvern stared at his cracked console. The list streamed across the screen faster than he could read it. Every line was a line someone erased from history. He pulled an old Empire decree from storage. All Terran refugee transports between cycles 320-360 lost in transit. No survivors. It was signed by 6 now dead counselors. He clicked open one name on the Terran list, Sasha Pirelli, age 29, Medical Corps, confirmed dead in lost transit. Then a second Empire document, classified. Cargo vessel intercepted. Biological quarantine. All passengers terminated. Case sealed. His chest tightened. We did this, he whispered. We started this. POV flip. In the heart of the second human vessel, a new AI fragment came online. It was shaped like a child's voice, but its tone carried centuries. We only remember those you forced us to forget. The list paused. For 6 full minutes. Then one final name. Yara Tenen. My mother. And then, The comms screen shattered on its own. No explosion, no pulse, just cracked, as if the weight of her name broke the hardware. Empire-wide, more names began triggering proximity alerts, but it wasn't because of the signal, it was what followed each one. Tactical turn. After every broadcast, one Imperial installation, random, old, forgotten, simply disappeared from sensors. No explosions, just vanishing. Bases blinked out. Ships went dark. Moon outposts, gone. AVD spike. Each erasure was silent. Surgical Counselor Silas screamed at the war table. Why don't they speak to us? Demand something? Even invaders negotiate. Marshal Jorek's voice cracked. They did speak. He tapped the console. Replayed the first transmission. We don't need your surrender. We don't need your alliance. We just need the screaming. To stop. Emotional flip. Tilvern now sat in the darkness of the archive vault. His screen was dead. His thoughts weren't. They're not listing casualties, he whispered. They're listing witnesses. Signature line. And somewhere, in the Empire's own tongue, written in soft Terran script, a final phrase emerged across dead screens. Memory is sharper than war. The capital planet of Varnaxis was drowning in whispers, not protests, not riots. Whispers, because entire departments, whole branches of military intel, had simply stopped responding. No distress calls, no flames in the sky, just dead air. In the shadow halls of the Emperor's private command chamber, Counselor Vale stood hunched beside a glowing relic, the Empire's first decree after humanity joined the Galactic Council. He read it slowly, then read it again, then vomited on the floor. AVD Spike. It wasn't a peace accord, it was a disarmament protocol, signed by humans, under threat. Clause 17. In exchange for galactic membership, all Terran off-world defensive fleets must be disbanded. No exceptions. And they complied. For 300 years, until now. POV shift. In a barren outpost on the edge of the Rimworlds, an old man stepped off a stolen Imperial transport. His name was Voss Teklin, a defector. Once a war historian, now an enemy of the state. He looked tired, bones too brittle for the desert wind, but in his arms he carried a data slate, one that hadn't been accessed in 312 years. Inside, footage, old, blurry, but real. A Terran refugee ship, clearly marked, being torn apart by Empire. Interceptors.children.medics unarmed. Voss dropped the slate in front of a holocam and broadcasted live to every open band. This was your truth. You said they vanished in storms. You said we sent aid, but you killed them. And you buried them twice, once in flesh and again in silence. Tactical turn. The feed hit every world, and with it came the screams. Not from the living. From the ships. Because now all across the sectors, Terran warships emerged from folded space. 12, then 24, then over 100, all different sizes, all marked only by the silence emblem. Fleet Marshal Jorek stared at the map in dread. Didn't break a treaty, he whispered. We broke their funeral. POV flip. Inside the AI core of the largest vessel, a single Terran command line blinked once, then executed. Final list complete. Begin restoration protocol. In the Empire's sky, no warning appeared. Just the blackening of the stars. The Terran warships did not fire. They didn't need to. Whole Imperial satellites collapsed as if bent by gravity itself. Orbitals began to rain down like comets. Signature line, and still, the human ships did not speak, because for Earth, this was the moment silence ended. Sector 17, Defense Array, offline, orbital command rings, offline. Central targeting. Grid, unresponsive. In one breath, the Empire's entire military went dark. No explosions, no screams, just a moment, and then... Nothing worked. AVD spike. Fleet Marshal Jorek's war table flickered into chaos. Status lights went black, then red, then nothing at all. Is it a virus? Sila demanded. No, Jorek murmured, eyes wide. It's a memory. What? They didn't hack us. They restored us, back to the time before we learned to kill. Across the galaxy, every military protocol reset to default. Systems reverted to their oldest boot code, archaic fossilized code bases, based on Terran frameworks. Terran code the Empire had stolen centuries ago, now returned home. In the ruins of Archive Vault 17, Tilvern sat under broken lights, watching his screen loop a message over and over again. You used our silence. We used it better. A static-filled transmission from the largest human ship finally broke the void. The voice. Aged, kind, human. This is not an invasion. We will not occupy. We will not rule. We will only remove. Remove what was built on bones. Remove what was protected by lies. POV shift. Inside the Emperor's throne room, alarms screamed as gravity flickered. The floor bent like it was remembering old weight. He stood, uncrowned, unmoving. They're wiping our history, he muttered. Counselor Vial stepped backward. Then, we fight. No, the Emperor whispered. We confessed. Emotional flip. Somewhere far from the capital, an old Terran beacon began to blink, a memorial site, once thought lost, suddenly online again. The feed showed rows of names carved in crystal, names erased by the Empire, now glowing with light. Second voice came through the signal. Younger, shaking. You asked why we were so quiet. You said we were weak, but Earth was never silent. We were listening. AVD spike. One last burst. The capital's defense grid fired on its own vessels. A final panic. But the Terran ships didn't retaliate. They waited. And as each weapon turned, on itself the Empire learned the lesson carved into every Terran hull. We do not strike first. We remember who did. Signature line. The sky did not burn. The world did not end. But across 1,000 worlds, one phrase echoed on every dead frequency. This is what justice sounds like. The capital floated like a ghost above its own, scorched moon, all defensive systems, disabled, all command nodes, deaf, all warships, adrift, waiting. Not one Terran ship had fired, but the Empire had never felt more defeated. Inside the throne room, the Emperor stood alone. The council chambers were empty now. Cowards had fled. Loyalists had vanished into bunkers. Only one remained. Fleet Marshal Jorek, stripped of his rank pins, staring at a blank warboard. He didn't ask what came next. He knew. AVD spike. A signal request blinked once across every Imperial screen still functioning. Incoming transmission, unarmed, source, Earth. The Emperor breathed in slowly. Open it. A figure appeared, human, female, worn military jacket, unshaven head, one eye replaced by a dull red lens. No medals, no rank, just presence. She didn't speak immediately. She let the silence stretch like a blade. Then, why do you think we didn't destroy you? No one answered. She tilted her head. Was it mercy? Was it hesitation? A glitch in our morality code? She looked down, then back up sharp. It was none of those. It was pity. Emotional flip. Jorek stepped forward, voice rasping. You came for blood. Why stop now? She stared at him like he was a child learning to spell. Because vengeance isn't our end. Memory is. She held up a small device, a coin-sized crystal. This holds every name your empire erased, every moment you buried, every voice you silenced. She let it drop. It hovered mid-air, then pulsed softly. We wanted you to feel what it's like, to watch history happen. And no, you're not part of it anymore. POV shift. In orbit, aboard the Terran command vessel, the AI watched in stillness. Sensors recorded every breath, every tremor in the Imperial voice, every micro-expression of guilt, of confusion, of dawning fear. And yet the AI did not feel joy, only completion. They remember now. It whispered to no one. Back planetside, the Emperor stepped forward, heavy, as a statue. He didn't ask for surrender. He didn't ask for forgiveness. He asked one thing. Will we be allowed to rebuild? The woman paused. You were never stopped from building. You were stopped from forgetting. Signature line. The signal ended. The skies remained silent. But above the Empire, orbiting like judgment itself, the Terran ships remained. Watching. Not invading. Just remembering and making sure the Empire never forgot again. One by one, the Terran ships vanished. No jump trails. No war signatures. Just folded light closing like book pages. And then, they were gone. AVD spike. On every Imperial world broadcast cut to black. No more names. No more messages. Just stillness. A silence so total it felt like mourning. But not for the humans. For themselves. In the Council archives, Tilvern archived his final report. He didn't title it War. He titled it Correction, Emotional Flip. He stood before the Emperor, the report still glowing in his hands. I don't think they came to punish us, he said softly. The Emperor looked up from his shattered throne. Then why did they come? Tilvern answered without flinching. To remind us who we really are when no one fears us. POV shift. Across a fractured moon colony, a group of Imperial children played in the rubble of an abandoned fleet base. One child pointed. Up at the stars, will they come back? Her brother shook his head. Not unless we forget again. High above, in the orbital shadow of a dying satellite, a single Terran relay remained, a black disk, untouchable, untraceable, and once every cycle, it repeated the final message. We were silent, not because we were weak, but because we were watching. Your history is yours again. Guard it well. Tactical turn. The Empire would rebuild, but this time they would teach the names they once erased. They would print them on school walls, etch them into monuments, sing them in remembrance rituals, because they had learned the law of the Terran silence. If you forget the dead, Earth will remind you. Poetic closure. Far in the void, past Sector Null, a dark cradle of folded space lingered. Empty now. But not abandoned, just patient. Because Earth didn't leave peace behind. It left memory, and memory never dies. Signature line. So the Empire wrote new calendars, built new cities, and taught its children a simple phrase to say when they looked up at the stars. Thank you for not speaking. And Earth said nothing, because silence was always louder than war. End.